You loved him as Crutchy in Newsies and in countless must-see web videos. Now he's returning to Broadway in the new musical, Tuck Everlasting. It's good to see you, Andrew Keenan-Bolger.
Good to see you, Paul.
How you doing?
I'm doing
well.
I
love that you're in a sports coat.
I am, yes. You know, I feel
good.
like there's a lack of decorum sometimes on show people, and
I
you...
appreciate it. We have a shiny floor now.
Yes,
so.
come on.
Stepping it up.
Yes.
But you are wearing a signature Andrew Keenan-Bolger. If you look from the waist down, we do have shorts, nice designer shorts.
Thank you.
Your legs and boots. So this is sort of a look. This is a look for you.
I mean, well, I watched your last show, people, and Steve Pasquale was complaining about the AC system, so I was like, better be safe than sorry. I don't want to look like a drowned rat. Not on Broadway.com.
We just did that for him. We just heated it up for him. But this is a good look. It's a good look for you.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I feel like my style icons are like Japanese street fashion meets Friedrich from The Sound of Music.
That's good. That's a good place for you. So how's that Tuck Everlasting show? It's like a big Broadway musical.
It is. It's a big Broadway, new American Broadway musical.
Yeah, I went to your rehearsal event, and that Casey Nicola, director choreographer Casey Nicola, he knows how to whip some people up into a dancing frenzy and emotional frenzy, right? I mean, he makes big Broadway musicals.
It's true, and you know, this is an amazing one for him. I think everyone knows Casey for being such a brilliant comedic director and doing really like subversive, irreverent comedies. And this is definitely a departure for him, but I don't think it's unwarranted. He, while being a hilarious person, is one of the most caring, empathetic directors in this business. So I'm so excited for the Broadway world to see this new Casey Nicola musical.
Yeah, and this has been like a real journey for you, right? I mean, so you know, when you're a New York actor, you get involved in shows early on, right?
Yeah.
So what was your first meetup with Tuck Everlasting?
I did the very first reading ever, and it was, I think, 6.5 years ago.
Okay, you weren't actually a child actor at the time.
I was not.
It wasn't so long ago. Okay.
Yeah, but it was one of the first things I did when I moved to the city.
Really?
I think I did the Tuck Everlasting reading, and then like immediately after did the first Newsies reading. So
wow.
They were both
puts it in
happening at
context,
the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. So you do these things, and then you kind of go, well, I hope that happens someday, right?
Yeah.
And then it's been sort of a pretty steady journey.
It's true. Yeah, it's been an interesting gestation, and I think especially getting to play this character has been so great to have your hands all over it right from the very beginning. And to be able to cultivate who this guy is along with the writers.
And you're such a creative person anyway. You create a lot of your own stuff. You have a new book too we're going to talk about. For you, that must be super exciting that you got to, because you've literally done like countless readings and workshops, and you did an out-of-town production. Yeah. How has it like grown and how has it changed?
The book, it's been the same musical. It's all been based on this great children's book that immediately we all had like a very life-affirming reaction to, even in its very early stages. I think how it's grown is just really digging in deep and finding why this needs to be told as a musical rather than in any of the other versions. Like it's been a movie, and what the genre of musical theater can tell in a new way, this beautiful story.
Right. My favorite Broadway musicals make you cry. So that's sort of like my go-to. Like that's something, if I check that off, then and it sounds like this is one of those.
I mean, it's true. I hate telling that to people like, oh, well, get ready to cry. Because I feel like people always say that to me. And I'm like, don't tell me how to
make me
feel.
Cry.
I'll feel how I want to feel. But there is something about this musical that it really does. From the very first reading, it was these like middle-aged men investors like sitting grumpily, hearing every stage direction, being like, well, that's some dollars. I'm doing that math in my head. And by the end, we're all like clutching their like soggy Kleenexes.
Right.
And it does feel great to get to do. And I don't want to promise that you're going to cry or have some huge cathartic response.
No promises.
But it's going to happen.
Right. Talk about your that Sarah girl, that new your new just like a Broadway newbie, right?
Yeah, it's her Broadway debut.
So what's her full name?
Sarah Charles Lewis.
Right.
And
I love someone with 3 names.
Oh yeah, you gotta.
You gotta have 3 names.
It's great for branding, and it makes your like Google image search results like way more easy.
Interesting. So is that one of your first tips for child actors? Like add a 3rd name.
Have like hippie parents who like give you way too long of a last name, and then there will be no one else like you. Yeah, Sarah's amazing. Yeah. She is a local from Atlanta, and when they were auditioning for the show originally, they did auditions everywhere trying to find this girl because she's very important. Yeah. And they did an audition in Atlanta being like, with good faith, we are opening the talent pool to the locals here. And she completely blew them away. And they're like, we have to use this girl.
Wow.
And then when we found out we were going to Broadway, they were like, we have to do it soon so that she will not grow up and that she can be this perfect Winnie Foster that they've discovered.
I saw her at a presentation for the show, and she said that she's most excited about decorating her dressing room and walking around New York City. Those
she's
are the
a
two
real New
things
Yorker.
that she's like, yeah, I love it.
Already. She's great, and she hasn't been in this business for very long, so there's not the sort of affected child actor quality to her where you look at her on stage and she just looks at you like a human being, not like robot child who my parents whispered how to say these lines into my ears.
Speaking of shows that make you cry, Carolee Carmello is also in your show. I feel like she's tagged to a lot of those things that have made me cry.
Yeah, it's true. And you know what? Carolee, I think, has been such a champion of new works and new up-and-coming writers.
Yeah.
People like Andrew Lippa, Michael John LaCusa, Jason Robert Brown,
Yeah.
always like in the ground floor with all of those composers. William Finn. So I do feel like it is a good vote of confidence that she's chosen to attach herself to this project.
Yeah.
And she is like the voice of me growing up with contemporary musical theater. She's that voice on the soundtrack.
Yeah, and so you're new young writers. You're also involved with a lot of young talent and young writers, and you know, in a lot of your web shenanigans, and just in benefits you do and everything you do. So talk about these guys.
They're amazing, and this is truly the first reason that I wanted to be in Tuck Everlasting is because of Chris Miller and Nathan Tyson.
Yeah.
My sister Celia
We
worked
know
with
her.
them.
She's
You
been
might be
here.
familiar.
We love her.
She worked with them when they were still in the NYU Writers Grad program.
Oh, wow, okay.
And gave me a demo, this is dating myself, gave me a tape demo of some of their songs. Yeah, full cassette. And
single,
a
as it
single,
were.
yes. And I remember just being so obsessed with this music, and I had not heard anything like it. It has this real, like, kind of folky vibe to it, and I was like a big nerd on them for a while in college. Like, I somehow obtained their email addresses and was like, I would like to use this song for an audition, please. Please send to insert blah blah blah. You
You got in with them early.
Yeah, well, when I went into audition for this, I was like, oh God, they're gonna be like, oh, that's that kid who's
that weird
stalking us while we were still in college. So it is great. If you would have told me in college that I would get to be in their debut Broadway musical, my head would have exploded.
Right. Now, you talked about that you're happy that Sarah is not like an affected child actor. She has like sort of a realness.
Yeah.
You started as a child actor.
It's true.
So what were you like when you were that kid, when you look back on that?
I feel like looking back on that, I feel like it is the reason that I'm still in this business now. And I think largely because of the relationships I had with the adults who I was working with. The fact that, I mean, some of them will treat you like kids and be like, that's the kids. But I remember having a lot of really meaningful relationships with very self-actualized artist adults who really saw you as a castmate.
So who was super cool?
Like, I remember when I was in Beauty and the Beast,
You were Chip.
I was Chip.
I
And
love Chip.
the guy who was playing keyboard one was Glenn Kelly, who went on to work with Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
And I think in one of our early rehearsals, he was just talking to me and asking me what kind of musicals I like. And I remember being like, well, I'm really into Passion right now, which actually beat Beauty and the Beast. He was like, and came in like the next week with a book all about like Sondheim.
Oh, wow.
And it was those adults who would like see you and recognize something in you that you are more than just the little teacup role you're playing.
Yeah.
And so it comes into play when I work with Sarah, and I try to have meaningful relationships with her. And I mean, I think it's worked out for the best because we now have to trust each other so much. Our set is very huge. We climb it. There's a lot of stunts in it.
There's a tree. I hear
There's
a tree.
There's
tree.
a huge freaking tree. And we're climbing to the top of it with no ropes or wires.
Oh, wow.
And so there is a lot of trust that has to go into that. And I just feel lucky that she's really my best friend in this show.
Oh, that's
it's
sweet.
true.
So you were in Seussical.
I was, yes.
Well, actually, I have a question about Chip. Chip, my memory of that show, Beauty and the Beast, didn't Chip have like a creepy moment where like I thought his neck was broken, where he like spun? Or what was that moment? Where you were the teacup.
Yeah.
You were,
Well,
on
it was
you were
just
like
the head.
your body was like shoved
there's
into
a time
cart.
where they just carry the head on a tray, and you're like, how does that happen?
No, that was not your head.
That was Disney magic.
Yeah, that's Disney magic.
Which
That
I'm
was
never allowed to talk
about. That I knew was not your head. But I remember there was like a weird, wasn't there like a turning moment or something?
Well, you could like fully turn around in the.
It was weird.
Yeah.
You were like, you see, like
It's a little Linda
turntable.
Blair.
You can't talk about Disney magic.
No.
Disney has signed a lot of your checks.
Yes.
So let's. I'm sorry. For
They've been very kind to me.
Even challenging you on the magic of Chip. The next time it comes to Broadway, and I'm sure it'll be back, I'll figure out what's going on with Chip.
Yes.
Yes, Seussical. So Seussical was a big. Oh my God! I mean, it's funny. That's when Broadway.com first, like, we came on the scene around the time of Seussical. So we were covering it.
Yeah.
And my memory is that you were JoJo when the show went to Boston.
Yeah.
Right. And the show in Boston looked totally different than the show. By the way, the costumes and it was crazy. It was a totally different show. But then you were like the alternate when it came to Broadway, right? So what happened?
I went through puberty, Paul.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, my voice started changing when we were in Boston, and I mean that was like sort of a traumatic time in my life because I thought I was about to be opening this amazing new Broadway musical, which then as we went out of town turned into a little bit of a fright fest with a lot of people got fired from that, and my voice was changing. And
you were how old when you were like doing the show in Boston?
I was 15, which
it's like
that was really pushing it.
It was
But yeah, so when we moved to Broadway, I became the alternate, which was interesting. I mean, I think it definitely knocked me back a peg, and I think was maybe a good lesson to learn before entering this field that a lot of stuff is out of your control.
I just can't imagine what that was actually like for you to go through.
Yeah, it was like sort of traumatic. But interestingly enough, cut to 15 years later, first of all, Casey Nicholaw was in the ensemble of that.
Yeah, I know.
Which was really crazy.
Yeah.
And we've definitely gotten to share some war stories. And I then got approached from Penguin Random House to write a book series for kids
Jack
about
and
musical.
Louisa.
Yes, Jack and Louisa.
With Kate Weatherhead.
With Kate Weatherhead.
Your submissions only co-creator.
It's true. And when we were talking about what this book could be about, we started just exchanging stories about doing theater as little preteens.
Yeah.
And my like Seussical experience came up, and immediately she was like, this is the launching pad for the series, that it's about a boy who gets fired from this huge Broadway show.
So literally that's what it is. I thought that's what that was.
Yeah.
But then the boy like has to go deal with his being back in his hometown.
Yes, moving back to Shaker Heights after being a New York City kid, which totally happened to me. I had to move back to Detroit, Michigan after my voice changed and I got fired from my Broadway show.
It sucks, man.
Yeah, it sucks, but honestly, it was a good lesson to learn, and I think I went back and I started doing like community theater and like just doing stuff with my school and like at camp, and realizing that sometimes those experiences can be so equally as rewarding, and that a musical is still a musical no matter where it's performed, and that it still has that power and that importance for the people involved with it.
So what kind of shows did you do when you got back?
Oh, I did Peter Pan, which I was so terrible. And yes,
you were bad.
I was Peter Pan, which one would guess, like, this little tiny twink would be great as that.
I didn't know boys could play Peter Pan.
I did it in, well, I was also, my voice had like sort of just started settling, so I was singing some things in like the Mary Martin key and some things like an octave below, which like no one needs to hear, like Never, Neverland sung. But
there must be something weird about when you're a kid and you want to hit puberty, you want to be an adult, but then you also want to be on Broadway.
You want
like
to
fighting your own body, right?
Yeah, truly. I felt like it kind of screwed me up a little bit.
Like, couldn't you wait? Could you wait puberty?
Yeah, it's true. It's a weird thing. And I feel like I am now bringing that experience a lot to Tuck Everlasting, because I play this character who is eternally 17. And I think initially when I started with it, I had just moved to New York after graduating from school, and I was like, oh, I see so much of myself in this. His like whole wide-eyed wonderment and like sense that your whole life is ahead of you. And as I started aging with this role and adult life began sort of wearing on me, it was harder to feel authentic and that kind of stuff. And I don't know if maybe the writers noticed this or if it happened organically, but as the role began to develop, sort of a new level emerged. This underneath this boyish excitement, that there is a level of sadness of being a 17-year-old who never really fully learns how to become a man. And I mean, that sort of is, in some part, a little bit like my professional acting career.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely able to bring some stuff to that. And I am glad that this is happening now, 6 years after we've started, because I think if we had gone straight to Broadway, I don't think I would have been able to give this role the complexity that it really deserves.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So what is your age range? like if your agents
Depends
get
the venue. Like at the Muni, I could do like Artful Dodger. On TV, you get a little too close. And you're
on
like,
TV,
oh no.
I saw Looking. You were definitely not a child on Looking.
Whatever do you mean?
By the way, I noticed on your acting reel how you elegantly cut away at the right moment of your Looking moment. Because Looking,
Can't give it all
we all
away.
saw that.
Spoiler alert.
But at the Muni, yes. You,
sure.
Because you're how tall?
I'm 5'4".
Okay, you're 5'4".
Yeah.
And you're boyish
Sure.
looking, and you're wearing shorts.
I'm wearing shorts.
And you have nice
really
like
trying
boyish
to play.
hair and a boyish glow. All the Keenan-Bolgers have a very youthful glow.
It's true.
About them. So would you go in for like? So what's the?
I will go in for whatever.
Do you feel weird about that? Like, do you say like, I want to be an adult? Like, is there a point where you're gonna like grow like a crazy like facial hair and like just be like, I'm not doing that anymore?
Honestly, I will play the young card as long as I can.
Okay.
And truly, that is why I think I am also a creator, is because it's my insurance policy for when I go through the awkward years and have to wait to be then like the comedic old creepy man. Which will happen
That's
sometime.
the path?
Yeah,
you have to go from this to the comedic old creepy man?
I know. Kind of. Who wants to see me be like 40 years old and like wearing shorts?
I don't know. I think you're doing a nice job of being interesting. Let's talk about Jack and Louisa.
Sure.
So as you said, the first Jack and Louisa book, that was the jump off.
Yeah.
Right? Jack was that kid. He was you, basically.
Yeah.
So now the second book came out. Act 2.
Act 2, yes.
Was just released, right?
Yes.
And Act 2, I've not read it yet, but from what I heard, it's about they're doing like Guys and Dolls.
They
right,
are,
in the
yeah.
school.
Yeah, they're now doing a school musical back in Shaker Heights. And it is fun, too, because for the first 4 chapters, they take a trip to New York. So Jack sort of gets to show Louisa his backyard.
Oh, wow.
And explore all the like fun, very insidery places that even like adult theater lovers are going to find
fun.
pretty rich.
And then there's going to be a third book.
Yeah, Act 3 coming out next year.
Even though no shows have Act 3 anymore.
I mean, like Shakespeare one.
So it's like a three-part series.
Yeah.
That's how it's sort of like it was pitched.
Yeah, it was totally pitched to us, which was cool because I mean, anyone who knows me knows I'm just like always a hustling and always trying to create things and sort of move that line. And this was the one thing that came to Kate and I, where they actually pitched us the series and they wanted us to write it.
So what did you learn about writing for kids? Because a lot of people write kids' books.
Yeah.
So what do you have to do with the language? First of all, how do you and Kate write together?
Oh, well, it's interesting. We alternate every chapter. So I write all the chapters from Jack's perspective, and then they pick up through Louisa's eyes. So she writes the Louisa character, and I write the Jack character.
Got it. Okay.
So we are able to do a little bit of pen pal, kind of like courtship. I think writing for kids was super interesting. I was very hesitant at first. And what actually helped me was reading other young adult books that are being written right now. And what I was so surprised was the sophistication of the content and of the language that like they're digging deep on a lot of these books in a way that I feel like I was not privy to as a kid.
Wow.
And that I think they give kids a lot of credit. So very rarely, occasionally our editors will be like, this word is not really at the right reading level, but they've almost never said anything about our content.
Interesting.
Yeah, they want these characters to be as fully realized and
Could you picture like a Jack and Louisa movie?
Oh, totally.
You're all into that.
I mean, totally
sure.
like that's like the next step, I
Right.
would say.
Okay.
Or like a Nickelodeon show.
But you're not going to go in for the role of Jack.
Yes. Everyone's like, this guy. No, I will be happy to sit in the writer's room.
Can we talk about some of my other favorite credits of yours?
Sure.
Because you've done a lot of interesting things. Turkey Boy in A Christmas Carol.
You got that from my Wikipedia page, and I've never played that role.
I'm sorry.
Someone on Wikipedia. I don't know.
What is Turkey Boy? Somebody just made that up? People are spreading lies about
I
you.
was in A Christmas Carol, but I played young Scrooge.
Did you play Twink Slave and It Could Be Worse?
Twink Slave, I did.
I think you did.
I think, yes,
Which is a better one, by the way.
Wes Taylor's amazing web series, which I feel like I'm sure my managers checked my IMDb page one day and was like, oh,
Twink
great.
Slave, great. Hey, got you on looking.
Sure.
Chip Sprinkle in Marcy X.
Yes, indeed. Marcy X.
Marcy X was that great Paul
Little
Rudnick
known.
flop with an amazing cast, right? It was
Yeah, Lisa
Jane
Kudrow, Jane
Krakowski
Krakowski,
and Vian Cox.
Vian Cox, Christine Baranski, I played her
Yeah.
little gay son.
You were Omar in Aladdin.
Yes.
When the first Casey,
Yeah.
right, the production in Seattle. You were Omar,
Yeah.
who's clearly supposed to be like Middle Eastern.
From the Middle
correct?
East. That is correct.
So, I mean, I know you have like a Disney relationship. So why the heck were you playing Omar?
You know, I had developed it. We had done early readings of it, and I think originally it was Tom Schumacher, who's the head of Disney Theatrical,
Yeah.
asking his friends to just sort of read these
Okay.
parts. It takes
Omar.
place in Agrabah. It's not a real place.
And you were also Sarah Jessica Parker in Perez Hilton's
Yes,
Universe, which
it's
might be my
true.
favorite, and other celebrities.
Yes, and also Zac Efron and Tom Cruise, too.
Right. So how did you play? I missed it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
How did you play Sarah Jessica Parker? What's the key?
It was mostly the costume. It was like a giant tutu with like a huge freaking flower.
Okay.
And then they took like this blonde wig from Ricky's and just like dragged it like across the sidewalk, and there were like leaves in it. They
Nice.
put it. I don't really get it. I think she's beautiful, but
Does
they
she
thought it
know?
was
Have you
really
met
fun.
her? Does she
No.
know you played her?
No,
Are there photos of that?
I don't even know. It was
Okay.
at the Fringe Festival, so
Let's hope.
possibly
Let's hope
not.
not. Let's hope not, because you maybe you'll end up
Yes.
together. Maybe
Yeah.
She might end up playing like Louisa's mom.
Oh God, I would be so lucky.
Right? That'd be so awesome. You also played Zac Efron.
Yes.
Which it seems like a good segue for me to ask you about your body. Because people on the internet know your body. I mean, you have this little like boyish thing going on here, but you have like this crazy ripped body. When did you pick up your first barbell?
I think it was right after I moved to New York. And I don't know, I like working out. I feel like if dancing and singing were as easy as working out, and I enjoyed them as much, I would be much further along in my career. But I
It's
don't
just
know.
interesting because of your type.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you do have this boyish thing, like you said. And it's also interesting to me now because of that whole like puberty like messed up your career. And now you're like this like super like I don't know.
I
It's,
mean-
it's like this whole weird. It's this whole weird thing. It's like this whole weird psychology thing.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
doing in my
I
head.
will say I am like really slimming down for this role.
Okay, yeah, because you can't be. Like,
Yeah, I'm doing the
okay.
full Anne Hathaway just because I feel like my body, you walk differently when you're like packing, and so I
So
have
there'll be
not
less
lifted the weight.
shirtless Instagram photos during the run of.
There will be none. No. Yeah, I'm trying to get back to my 17-year-old figure.
Okay, got it. So it's just because you like it.
I'm sure we have the exact same stomach definition, and just on me, it's like super compact.
How is that little new nephew of yours?
I mean, William.
right?
He's amazing.
Celia and John Elson Conley's baby.
Yes.
He's almost a year.
He is, yeah. He's 10 months old right now.
Okay.
And actually, my like favorite day of the whole Tuck Everlasting process was just last week, where Casey invited all of us to bring like a friend or family
Yeah.
member to watch one of our runs.
Uh-huh.
And I should also preface by saying that like earlier in the week, someone on our creative team lost a parent.
Oh, wow.
And so doing the show was a little bit hard because it deals so much with death and
Yeah.
mortality. And I invited Celia and William, and she was like, there's a chance that he might cry after 10 minutes, but we were willing to take the risk. That baby sat through that entire thing completely wrapped.
Broadway
And,
baby.
and it was, he would occasionally let out like a little like coo or like laugh. And it was amazing, and I think in some ways really helpful for our cast in light of what was going on with our creative team to see like a baby and to see the show through a new mom's lens, and which is all what Natalie Babbitt's book is about, that you can't have living without dying, and that you're not able to celebrate these new lives and these blessings like babies without being able to say goodbye to people on the other end of the wheel. And I think it was so great for me, and I feel like I felt things that I'd never felt getting to do the show before.
And you and Celia also, I mean, you've been through the loss of parents. And,
It's true, yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like in a lot of ways, yeah, we lost our mom when I was, I think, 16 years old. I mean, it sounds so corny, but I feel like in a lot of ways the show has cathartically helped me to get through that. And I think working on this for 6 years, it does give you a great understanding of like what it means to be a person existing and living in this universe.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I feel like also it has helped. My mother's passing, of course, was terrible, but I feel like my sibling bond with Celia and Maggie has grown
Yeah.
so much greater because of it.
Yeah.
And we've been able to like have a life for ourselves in New York together.
Yeah. Well, if little William, is he William? Will?
Yeah, William.
Will?
Yeah, William.
If little William liked it, I'm going to like it.
Come on. Yeah, there's no excuse. 10
Everyone.
months.
I mean, come on. The reviews are in. William liked it.
William liked it.
Come on. What more do you need? Talk Everlasting starts March 31st at the Broadhurst, which is like one of my favorite theaters.
Yeah, it's so
the
great.
Broadhurst Theater on West 44th Street. Thank you so much for being here,
Thank you,
Andrew.
Paul.
So good to see you.
You too.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.